everyone, welcome back to Hustle and Motivate. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and share the video. It would help out my channel a lot. Today's video is on Jonah Hill. If most of you are not aware, he was recently in the media for posting a post on Instagram that read, "I know you mean well, but I kindly ask that you not comment on my body, good or bad. I want to politely let you know it's not helpful and doesn't feel good. Much respect." After reading this post and seeing some of the comments and seeing the blogs and commentary that was provided on it, I wanted to do a research video on what was the history of him in the blogs. And I came across quite a few articles and interviews in which he was just being ridiculed, and I was able to understand his points of view. So I wanted to share those videos with you today and provide commentary and review on those. Jonah Hill was born in 1983. He began acting in 2004. Some of the films that you would know him from are Accepted, that came out in 2006, Superbad, that came out in 2007, the remake of 21 Jump Street, which came out in 2012, and The Wolf of Wall Street, that came out in 2013. Now, most of these films were very popular, but if you look at the films, you notice a common theme: him playing the funny fat friend. Determined to not be typecast, it was during this period that Jonah Hill decided that he wanted to lose weight and take on more serious roles, which is what he did. However, according to him, directors and writers didn't want to see him in any other role. If you look back over some of the movies I just named, you will see that he was gaining and losing weight, because while he was getting roles that were more dramatic and allowed him to flex his acting chops, he was still being typecast as the funny fat friend, such as in the movie role 21 Jump Street, that came out in 2012, which he was smaller, and then in 2013 he came out with The Wolf of Wall Street, in which he was bigger. 22 Jump Street came out in 2014 and he was smaller. However, War Dogs came out in 2016 and he had gained all his weight back. In 2018, Jonah made his directorial debut with Mid-90s. It was at this time that the actor became more open and vocal about how being a obese, plus-size individual impacted him during his childhood, teenage years, as well as his adulthood and career. It seems that early on in his career, he was being belittled and poked fun of and made fun of for his weight. So I decided to show you guys a few videos of that happening, as well as showing you a few more recent videos that he did on The View as well as The Breakfast Club, in which he explains this, as well as he ties it into the movie that he had written and directed, which was Mid-90s.
Now, what made you make the change?
I just decided one day I wanted to be healthier, and I went and saw a nutritionist, and that's what I did. Stuck to it.
But are you still considered the fat guy when you go to a party or anything? Because I run into that a whole lot. I'm the fat one.
Okay.
So are you the fat guy in Hollywood still, or is everybody like look at you and they're like, oh wow, this is great, now you're healthy?
Do you have any other questions that are smart?
I have a question because you're in Atlanta.
We're all huge fans of yours as well. I feel like I've been watching your movies forever. But you recently became actually a hot topic on The View because you were openly talking about being weight shamed as a child, and you realized as an adult how much it had actually impacted you. Would you mind continuing?
I mean, I don't use terminology like that because it kind of sounds a little like, I don't want to be victimizing myself in any way. And women, first of all, have it way harder than I'll ever have it in my entire career or life, right? But essentially, I made this magazine because I was really interested in the idea that we all have a snapshot of ourselves that we try and like hide from the world. And no matter what you go through in life, oh, there it is. Hey, you made it easy for me. You kind of keep this snapshot with you. So I'm gonna read the manifesto at the beginning, and I conducted a lot of interviews with some of my heroes like Q-Tip or DJ Premier or Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth or Edie Falco. Just lots of people I admire. So Beanie, my sister. So I became famous in my late teens and then spent most of my young adult life listening to people say that I was fat and gross and unattractive. It's only in the last 4 years writing and directing my movie mid-90s that I've started to understand how much that hurt and got into my head. I really believe everyone has a snapshot of themselves from a time when they were young that they're ashamed of. For me, it's that 14-year-old overweight and unattractive kid who felt ugly to the world, who listened to hip-hop and wanted so badly to be accepted by this community of skaters. For this magazine, I asked 12 people I respect and admire if they can relate to this in their own way and how they've learned to love themselves. The interviews are all centered around the question of what is that snapshot for you? They turn into some of the most meaningful conversations I've ever had. I hope you enjoy this magazine, Jonah.
That's fantastic. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah. But I want to ask you about this last
and then
picture.
The end, so I do all the interviews, and in the end, it says this magazine is dedicated to this guy. And I made this like cardboard cutout of myself when I was 14.
And so that's 14 on the right, and that's you now on the left.
Yeah.
What do you think of when you see this?
I love that guy.
Yeah. Right?
I wish I wasn't so hard. I wish I could understand as an adult, you don't have to be so hard on yourself, essentially. And I'm still getting there. It's not like I figured it out. I'm on the kind of, I don't want to give away the ending, but really like, you know, the journey is the destination, essentially. That you can even be on that path is a luxury, right? To even be aware enough that that's what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I've been
For health reasons, or because you wanted to feel more confident, or because...
What kind of example? I got that chance in Superbad. I was the young kid getting put on. I'm putting these kids on. What kind of example do I want to give them? Do I want to give them an example of like, I'm a bitter asshole? Or do I want to give them the example of like, yo, if you write your ass off, you can make your own movie, you know?
I'm listening to you talk, and I'm wondering, did you start the process of losing weight for health reasons, or because you wanted to feel more confident, or because you was listening to what people were saying about you?
I'm just trying like every other human being, you know? Every day you go put one foot in front of the other, that's it, you know?
I don't know, the way you tried to lift your leg up, I don't know how easy it is for you to put
Bro,
one foot in front of the other.
Honestly, look at what I have right here. The wall.
Oh,
if I
okay.
had more space, like, all right.
Don't worry
about it.
Yeah. You don't have to prove to me how flexible you are, Jonah. You made it in Hollywood.
What are you listening to?
Reading an article in Vulture, and you said for most of your young adult life, you listened to people telling you that you were fat, gross, and unattractive, but the past 4 years, you realized how much that hurt. Was because you was making the movie and reflecting?
Yeah, because I get to be myself. Like, this feels as me literally coming to the world, like, as myself, you know? I spent my 20s, it had this beautiful career, like, I'm fortunate for it, but it was kind of like me in other people's worlds. You know, when you're an actor, you're a color in a painting, right? And I've been a pretty good green for 15 years, but if the director wants to paint purple over it, that's what they're gonna do. So to me, it was like, I need to paint a picture. Like, acting is to be seen and writing is to be heard, you know, and directing is to be heard. And so for me, I did feel like, yeah, I was this like fat, funny comedian, and people could just like trash me, or, you know, like, because I was funny or because of that, it's like, I don't have feelings, or you could just murder me, you know? And it's like, no, like, I'm a really sensitive person, and people are sensitive, and that shit hurts. And so for me, it's important to tell kids, like, yo, like, you don't have to take that shit, you know? And for other people being mean, it's like, yeah, it's funny, okay, but like, you're hurting people just the same way you're hurting people if they, you know, for any reason. It's just, why don't we be a little bit nicer? And for me, I'm coming out here with my film. This is my voice. I want to make films for everybody here, for the culture. I want to make films for people our age, our generation. And like, I'm out here and I'm myself and I'm not going to be anybody else.
So did you feel like people were, like you were a joke in Hollywood? Like you'd be around in circles with Leo them and Leo's like, hey, fuck my fat friend.
No. See, no. My friends would never disrespect me. They were fiercely, you know, like, that's what I'm saying though. It's like, no one would do that is a human being that is connected to you. People do it on their computers because they like are pussies. You know what I mean? And they're mad at their own lives, and that's fair. It's fair, you know? We're all angry about something, you know?
So what made you feel that way? What made you feel gross?
Just like article, like it was more like writers, you know? And then if I was doing an interview like this, let's say, I wouldn't have the confidence in myself to speak as confidently as I'm speaking now. I try and make a joke or I try something and they would, I was young. I was like a kid. So I was always talking to people 10 years, 15 years older than me, and they're talking down to me. And like, that shit isn't flying with me anymore. Right. You know what I mean? And so I'm proud to be the person that I am. And I see what you're doing. It's amazing, right?
Thank you, sir.
I love it. I fucking love it. I'm a big fan, real. And like, people, the best thing anyone ever said to me is that true confidence is living in uncertainty. And that's my biggest struggle, and I think it's everybody's biggest struggle. If you get married, I want to be married forever, it's perfect.
Right.
I take a job, I'm never gonna get fired. You know, you just want certainty, right? So no one gives a shit about us. Like, we think people give a shit about us, but they don't. They got their own lives going on. So they see me in Superbad, and they're like, they put me in this box. And it's like, that's what this is. All right, go on to the next thing in my life. You know what I mean? And if I'm different than what they think, that's uncertainty. And that's weird to people. And they're like, they don't know how to deal with it because they're only giving it a second of attention, but they're like, that's the funny guy from Superbad. So if I'm like, yo, no, I'm like, I'm other things too. It's like, no, dude, just stay in that thing. It's safer for me. It's easier for me, you know? And then I'm like, no, I want to be a filmmaker. That's what I want. It's like, no, dude, just like, you're an actor. Just like stay over there. Like, you know, it's like, people don't like change. You're
not allowed to grow or evolve.
Bro, we're human.
Yeah.
Like, we only are today. You know, we're not yesterday and we're not tomorrow. We're only today. This is the person I am. Mid-90s is what I made, you know? So it's like, it was, I would say frustrating, but like frustrating, it's called an uptown problem, bro. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I know it's an uptown problem. It's a privilege problem. It's a champagne problem. You never heard that? Yeah, it's uptown a champagne problem. It's uptown problem. Like, but for me, it's like, I'm not what you think I am. I'm me. Right. And I'm going to tell you who I am.
You're also a sex symbol now.
So as you guys can see, in those first two videos, he was definitely disrespected. And so I could actually relate to him in being obese. But I couldn't imagine being obese and then having a job where you have to get in front of people and they're allowed to berate you and disrespect you. And you have to sit there, grin, and not be able to say anything back. And that's essentially what he had been going through. I also didn't like the fact of how Charlemagne the God had poked a little fun of him in the interview. I know that's a little bit to be expected, but when you're dealing with someone who's talking about how they were poked fun of and because of their weight, it's not good then to poke fun of them. So to be expected from him. But this is what we covered in the video with Queen Latifah about blame and shame. So they were shaming him for being plus size as well as stigmatizing him. And this ultimately left him to, you know, being more recluse and quiet. So I'm glad he found his way of being open and honest about this. You know, I thought all was well, but prior to this recent post in which he said, people, please stop commenting on my body, good or bad, he had made a post about paparazzi sneaking and getting photos of him and how he was confident at the age of 37 now of being able to show his body without being fazed by situations like this. He had even made a post stating how he got a tattoo about body love. And I was going to do a little bit of research to figure out if something had transpired between now and his last body positive post, but I'll respect his wishes and honor the fact that he's like most of us. We don't want our body to be up for discussion. I wish him well, and he's definitely earned my follow. If you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and share the video. Thank you.